Hey guys, it's Miss Arlequin, and in today's lesson, we're going to talk about applying the prediction strategy to multiple choice questions. Alright, so have you ever been at the grocery store without a list of what you need to buy? And suddenly, when you're there, all of the choices make it difficult to choose just what you need? Alright, so answering multiple choice questions on a test can be just as overwhelming as visiting the grocery store unprepared. If you're not sure about the answer, you might fall for the distracting, appealing choices that are incorrect. And even when you do know the answer, you can be tempted by other choices. Those other distracting answer choices can make you doubt whether or not you're correct. All right, so therefore, it's best to decide what a likely answer to the question is before you look at the answer choices. If you're confident in what you know to be the answer, then you can judge the choices based on what you already think without letting the distractors distract you. So I want you to remember that test makers choose wrong answer choices very carefully. They're looking for the kinds of mistakes that students are most likely to make. And this can make several of the answer choices look very tempting, and it can distract students from the correct answer that's right in front of them. So in order to deal with this problem, one of my favorite test-taking strategies is the predicting answer strategy. What you do is you cover the answer choices before reading the question. Then you read the question and you predict what the answer will be. So even though I'm saying predict, what I really mean is you just come up with the answer on your own based on what you've read, going back into the passage, thinking about the text evidence, finding the text evidence to support your answer. If you can do that, then you're going to be more likely to circle the correct answer choice, which brings us to the final step. Once you know what the answer is, you uncover the answer choices and you find the choice that most closely matches your prediction. All right, so I'm going to model it for you with this short passage about the feline family. The feline family includes many animals, from the tame house cat to the vicious lion. Amazingly enough, these animals have many traits in common. They all have strong hunting instincts. They all care for their young. Furthermore, if you stand a house cat beside a lion, you can observe consistent physical features, such as their whiskers. Just make sure that the lion is not hungry at the time. All right, so my question that I have to answer for this passage is, according to the text, what physical feature do lions and house cats have in common? So I've covered up my answer choices, and I'm just going to go back into the passage, and I'm going to find my answer. I can actually take right here a keyword from the question, physical feature, and I can skim the passage for it. And so right here, I actually can find the sentence that contains the keyword, physical features, and I find the answer, such as their whiskers. That's going to be my answer choice. When I uncover the choices, I can see that the answer I found, whiskers, is answer choice A. Now let's talk about if I hadn't covered up my answer choices and just looked at the answer choices on their own without going back into the text or predicting an answer. I know this question is asking about a physical feature, and so whiskers is a physical feature as well as eyes, and so I probably would have been torn between these two answer choices. Instincts are not a physical feature, even though you have them. It's not something physical, so I could have eliminated that. Same thing with hunger, although hunger might have tempted some students because when you are hungry, you do feel it physically. However, the physical pains that go with hunger don't necessarily mean that hunger is a physical feature. Now, what would make me choose the distractor answer of eyes over the correct answer of whiskers? Well, this is a trap that many students fall into. It's the prior knowledge trap. If I think about my prior knowledge, lions and cats do have very similar eyes. So in real life, this actually could be a correct answer. However, there is no text evidence. Nowhere in the passage do they talk about eyes, which is where the test makers are hoping to trap you. They're hoping that somebody who's trying to very quickly go through the test is going to choose an answer without really making sure there's text evidence to back it up. All right, same passage, question number 2. The text uses which two animals as examples of the feline family? All right, so if I, again, cover up my answer choices and go back into the passage, I can see that they are using the lion and they're using the house cat. Do I see any other animals being mentioned in the passage? No. So all I have to do is uncover my choices and find the one that has my predicted answer choice. House cat and lion. All right, so I'm going to model using this strategy with a real test passage. This one is called The Sea Turtle's Built-in Compass, and it comes from the 2014 6th grade New York State Common Core exam. The Sea Turtle's Built-in Compass. If you were bringing friends home to visit, you could show them the way. You know the landmarks, a big red house, a bus stop sign, or even a pothole in front of your driveway. But what if you were swimming in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where everything looks almost the same? Could you find your way home? A loggerhead sea turtle could. It's born with a magnetic sense that tells it how to find its way from any place on Earth. Those big sea turtles swim thousands of miles each year. But somehow they know which way to turn to stay in warm waters where there is a lot of food. Loggerheads also seem to have a good memory for places, even for places they have seen just once before. Each female would lay eggs only on the beach where she was born, even if she hasn't returned since she hatched. Each year she goes back to the same beach. That means a baby loggerhead must figure out exactly where it is from the moment it hatches. We think that the loggerhead turtles have a global positioning system of sorts, explains Dr. Ken Lohman, and that it is somehow based on Earth's magnetic field. This global positioning system, or magnetic sense, is important. It helps the turtles locate what they need to live, from the best spots for finding food to their home beaches. Understanding the turtles' magnetic sense will help researchers figure out which areas are important for the survival of this endangered species. It isn't such a stretch to think that loggerheads may have a magnetic sense. Scientists already know of several animals that can detect magnetic fields. Whales, honeybees, birds, fish, and even some bacteria use Earth's magnetic field to find their way. Many of these animals, including loggerheads, have a substance called magnetite in their bodies. That's what may give them their magnetic sense. A difference between other animals and loggerheads, though, is the way they learn to use their magnetic sense. Young whales, honeybees, and birds can learn from adults. Loggerheads are abandoned as eggs. With no adults to learn from, how do hatchlings figure out how to use their magnetic sense? Lohman thinks they use cues from the environment. One of the cues he tested was light on the horizon. Baby loggerheads hatch only at night. However, a small amount of light reflects off the ocean. The light makes that region brighter than the rest of the sky. Heading toward the light helps loggerheads get quickly out to sea where they can find food. Turtles hatching in eastern Florida first swim east, since that is the direction of the light. Lohman tested whether hatchlings use this light source to set their magnetic compasses. We outfitted each hatchling with a cloth bathing suit that was attached to a fishing line and set them free in the tank, says Lohman. The fishing line was connected to a tracking system, so a computer could record which way the turtles swam. Around the tank, the scientists set up electrical coils to create a magnetic field that matched the Earth's. They set a dim light to either the east or the west of the magnetic field. Then they let the hatchlings go. At first, the hatchlings swam toward the light no matter where it was. After scientists turned off the light, the turtles that had seen the light in the east always swam toward east. When the researchers reversed the magnetic field, these turtles turned around and swam toward the new east. They had learned how to use their built-in compass. Turtles that had seen the light in the west swam toward the west. In the wild, swimming west would have taken them the wrong way, away from the ocean. So the light helped set the built-in compass, even if it did give the wrong direction. Turtles that had their first swim in total darkness swam in random directions. These experiments showed that loggerheads use cues from the outside world to set their magnetic sense. Loggerheads can detect magnetic fields from birth, but at first they don't know what they mean. After they follow the cues from their surroundings, they remember the correct magnetic direction. Lohman's work has led others to protect the loggerhead's habitat. For example, if a turtle hatches on a beach with a bright boardwalk, the turtle may be confused about which lights to follow. If it turns the wrong way, its magnetic sense may be warped forever. That would make survival hard for the turtle. Lohman is working to find other factors that are important in helping sea turtles find their way around the world. Many questions about these beautiful ocean creatures have still not been answered, so researchers have a lot of ideas to study. All right, so question number 1 is, which detail is most helpful for understanding the central idea of the article? All right, so for this type of question, I am going to have to look at the answer choices. However, there is something that I can predict. I can predict what the central idea of the article is. If I know what the central idea is, then it's going to be a lot easier for me to choose the detail that supports it. So when I think back about who and what this article was about, I know it was about sea turtles, and I learned about how scientists have studied the way turtles use light as their compass. They did a lot of experiments and learned about how the Earth's magnitude, as well as the light, builds a built-in compass into turtles from their very first swim. And once that compass has been put into the turtle, they will always follow that very first initial compass. So when the light is to the east, they'll always go to the east. If it's to the west, they'll always go to the west. Okay. Loggerhead turtles hatch in eastern Florida. This really doesn't show what I kind of just summed up for central idea. Loggerhead turtles prefer to feed in warm waters. Again, this really doesn't have anything to do with their built-in compass. Scientists are interested in protecting animal habitats. True, the article did end talking about that, about how man is kind of messing around with the built-in compass, with the building of artificial light. But if I look at D, scientists have studied how different animals navigate. That really kind of backs up everything I summarized in terms of central idea. Okay, question number 2. Why are lines 9 through 13 important to the article? All right, so a question like this is asking me what I'm really learning about the central idea from these lines. If this section of the text was missing, what would I not know about? All right, so when I look back at those lines, I see that it's talking about loggerheads having a good memory for places, about how they go back and they'll only lay eggs only on the beach where they were born. And from the very beginning, they have to figure out exactly where they are. So it's the very, very beginnings of their compass. All right, so they show how the turtles hatch eggs. Not really important to the built-in compass. They show the type of beaches turtles prefer. That's very tempting. They explain why the turtles travel long distances. Are they traveling long distances? It doesn't really say that. I mean, for all we know, the turtles don't really go that far from their beach. They explain why the turtle's sense of direction is so important. Yes, it's so important because they will only lay eggs on the beach where they were born. If they can't find out, or if they can't find their way back to that original beach, they're not going to lay their eggs. So I'm going to go with D. Okay, question 3. Why do loggerhead hatchlings have to learn differently from the way many other animals learn? All right, so if I go back into the passage, I'm actually going to go to here, lines 25 through 30. A difference between other animals and loggerheads. So I found this section is the one I want to focus on because I took the keyword differently, and I noticed that this paragraph started with a difference. So I thought this might be the place where I can find the answer. A difference between other animals and loggerheads, though, is the way they learn to use their magnetic sense. Young whales, honeybees, and birds can learn from adults. Loggerheads are abandoned as eggs. All right, so that's the difference. Other animals have parents to teach them. They hatch when it is dark outside. No, they do not have adults to teach them. There's my answer choice. All right, so there's a couple of more questions, I think 4 more for this passage. You can find it in Google Drive. See if you can use the prediction strategy for the rest of these questions. And good luck.